Check, check. Check, check.
So Jesus.
Check 1, 2. Hey, everybody, go ahead and head over here, please. Go ahead and head over here. Finish up. You're eating. You can bring it over here. We're gonna get started tonight. Good to have you guys here. Good to see so many of your faces here. Yeah. So if I die, yeah, I'm gonna try not to die. But if you know, it was my list. It was my list. Sure. What's up? How's everybody doing today? I'm starting to see so many of y'all today. That's some good music right there. Those doors. Thank you. And Will, you're good to go down at 7:15. All right. Couple of things to talk to you guys about. Yep. First off, Ultimate and Youth Discipleship. Okay. This Sunday. Okay, we'll play over at Southside. We'll play. There's a couple of possibilities that we could play where we can play and be big enough. All you need to do for Ultimate, and we'll do this at 3 o'clock. Figure that'd be enough time for you guys. to go and eat lunch, go home, get changed, and come play. Here's the thing: we've got to at least have 8 people, otherwise it's not going to be a whole lot of fun. So make sure that you come. It's a lot of. I mean, Ultimate is a lot of fun. Who has played Ultimate before? All right. Ultimate is almost like football, except you don't tackle. Okay. I mean, it's not so. You're not supposed to touch the person at all. Sometimes back when I was playing, I would accidentally shove somebody forward to catch the ball or catch the disc. So I have been known to do that. You know, I have been known to eat somebody 50 feet. So, but anyway, so we're gonna do that. All you have to do, bring your own if you bring your own water bottle, whatever you want to drink, bring it. Gatorade, Powerade, whatever you want to, have for the drink. But anyway, so that's gonna be Sunday at 2. We're gonna do our breakfast, our youth discipleship breakfast for dinner, our dinner. It'll be that night after evening church. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll do pancakes and I don't think we do pancakes because I'm gonna do Baby Yoda waffles that I've been talking about. So anyway, Petty Jean is June 12th. Petty Jean is June 12th. There is a sign up in the back. Y'all see where the hand sanitizer is? There's only like 5 names that have signed up. Go sign up. It's June 12th. We'll hike down to Petty Jean. We'll have time of lunch and devotion and everything. And so I'm looking forward to it. And then we'll head back. We'll probably be back around 1 or 2 at the latest. And then this is the other thing. Wednesdays through starting back in May all the way through August. This is going to be open from like 10 to noon. Okay. You can come hang out. You can bring your device. You can go play in the game room. You can. I brought cards. I bring my Exploding Kittens card deck. There's Uno. Today we played Among Us, and it was just a lot of fun. We played and we all became chat. So if you want to know more about it, talk to Ethan, Will, or Chris. They can feel you. So, but it's every Wednesday. So, and I have my coffee machine up here. I'm probably just going to have it up here all throughout summer, so you can get coffee there as well. So, VBS is going to be next week, so there's going to be no youth next week. All right, there's no youth, but we will do youth hangs. We will do youth hangs from 10 to noon. So, all right. So tonight we are talking about creation, and we're going to talk about why I believe in creation and how that because of creation there's a creator. Why we believe that. So, but before we begin, we're going to have a time of worship, and so we're going to pray, and then we're going to sing a couple songs tonight. We're going to sing "Unstoppable God," then we're going to sing "So Will I." And so I'm going to ask you as you guys stand up. This is a time of worship. This is a time of just you being still before God. And it's not about it's really not about how you sound or anything like that. I said y'all sang. I did say that. Promise you I did. Was not trying to weird y'all out or anything. So and it's so good to see you today. You're just awesome and amazing. Yeah, you are. I mean, you're cool. I mean, not just because you hang out with Joey. I mean, you also hang out with Kylie, and they need all the friends that they can get. So, I mean, I'm just saying. But I'm just kidding. But worship is just really a time for us to be still and for us really to focus on God. It's not, God doesn't really care about how you sound. He doesn't care about if you sound like the greatest singer in the world or if you sound like the worst singer. He doesn't care about that. All he cares about is you worshiping him. Not because of his own vanity or anything like that, but simply because it's a response. That's when we sing songs of worship, it's a response based upon what God is doing in our lives. It's it's kind of, in a sense, it's the ultimate kind of thank you to God. So we are thanking him for what he has done. Tonight we're singing about how he's unstoppable. I mean, think about that. What if God was so limited that he was nothing? Yet we sing about how he's unstoppable, about how not even death can stop God from healing. And the next song we sing is it's so alive, and it's all about how he created everything in the things he did in creation and the reasons that he did creation, why he created, and how he finds value in of all of his creation, everything's created, is found value in you and me above anything else. And that's just to us, to me, that's an awesome, awesome, and wonderful reminder about who God is. And for me, it causes me to want to worship him. And I hope it does for you. And what I don't want you to be afraid of is I don't want you to be afraid of what somebody might say. Okay? Because here's the thing: if they say something, you have my permission to throw punch them in the name of Jesus. Okay? Just pound them in the throat, just collapse their lungs in the name. No, don't do that. That's not okay. Don't collapse their lungs in the name of Jesus. That would be weird. But this is just a time for us to worship. So I want to challenge you to do that. Maybe for you, you just want to be silent. That's fine too. But we're gonna pray and then y'all get the lights. And then we'll sing songs. Father God, thank you so much for tonight. Thank you for all what you've done, Lord. I pray that you just be with us as we worship. Thank you for all those that came tonight. How exciting it is to get to meet together, Father. And I pray that you be with those that might be watching us on YouTube maybe now or watching later. Father, I pray that in this moment you begin to speak to them, begin to prepare their hearts. And it's in your name I pray. Amen. Heaven thunder and the world was born. Life begins and ends in the dust you form. Faith commanded and the mountains move. Fear is losing ground to our hope in you. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Freedom conquered, all our chains undone. Sin defeated, Jesus has overcome. Mercy triumphed when the third day dawned. Darkness was denied when the stone was gone. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Unstoppable God, let your glory on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. God of creation there at the start, before the beginning of time. No point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder. God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time. With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark, fleshed out the wonder of life. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, planets grow. If the stars are made to worship, so will I. Sounds so good. I can see your heart in everything you make. Every burning star, single fire of grace. Creation sings your praises so alive. God of your promise, don't speak in vain, no syllable empty yours. For once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. And as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath, evolving in pursuit of what you said. Now reveals your nature so I can see your heart in everything you say. Every painted sky, canvas of your creation still obeys you so alive. So alive. So alive. The stars were made to worship so alive. Mountains bow in reverence so alive. Your oceans roar your greatness so alive. If the stars were made to worship so alive. If the mountains bow in reverence so alive. If the oceans roar your greatness so alive. Or if everything exists to lift you high, so alive. If the wind goes where you stand, it's so alive. If the rocks cry out in silence, so will I. The sum of all my praise still falls shy. Singing a hundred billion times. Salvation, chase out my heart, all of my failure and pride. On the hill you create, the light of the world, and in the darkness to die. And as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear. Where you lost your life so I could find it. You left the grave behind you so alive. I can see your heart and everything you've done. Every part that's done in the work of our love. If you gladly choose to surrender soul, I can see your heart billion. Every precious one, child of God's say, you gave your life to love and soul. I could again 100 billion times. No measure could amount to your desire. You're the one who never leaves the one behind. You, Father, being one who never leaves the one. Thank you, Father, for leaving the 99 to go find the one. Father, it blows my mind to know and to realize that with all of creation, all things that you created, you find us to be the most valuable. You find us to be so worth it that you're willing to die through your Son Jesus so we can have a life. Father, I pray that as we talk tonight about creation, as we talk about how the evidence of creation seems to point to a creator, seems to point to you, Father, I pray that you remind us of all of the things that you've created. Find us to be the most valuable. It's in your memory. All right, as we get the lights, let me ask you a question. Wow. Let me ask you a question. All right. Can faith and science go hand in hand? Okay. Do I? My fuzzy fellow. I'm just gonna leave off. So tell me okay, who says that faith and science can go hand in hand? Show of hands. All right. Tell me why. Tell me why. Okay. All right. All right. Ethan, you want to give an attempt to that as well? Or just answer, I should say. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. Noah, did you also say that faith and science can go hand in hand? Why do you say that? Why do you think so? Yeah. There you go. That's right. That's very true. All right, Joey, what about you? You said that science can go hand in hand with faith. Why do you say that? Okay. All right. And that might sound strange to you. And that idea of faith and science going hand in hand might sound really strange because a lot of times when we think of science, for whatever reason, we tend to not think about faith, or we automatically think about like evolution, that sort of, that's evolution, that sort of stuff. And so there's always kind of been this kind of fight between faith and science, but the reality of it is that faith and science can and should kind of go hand in hand. Because what if I told you that science gives us great reasons to believe that there is a God who created the entire universe, including each one of us? And the fact the more we discover about the natural world, the more we realize what Psalm 19, 1-2 says is true. And we're going to be kind of looking at a couple passages of scripture throughout the night. This is the first one. It says this: the heavens declare the glory of God, and the expanse proclaims the work of his hands. Day after day, they pour out speech. Night after night, they communicate knowledge. So you show what the psalmist is getting at in this passage is that the heavens, the natural world, how things are made up, points to God, and the glory of him. In other words, he's saying there's evidence of a designer. And we'll talk a little bit more about this, but think about this, just in anything, nothing just happens to appear out of nothing, okay? That for instance, this microphone was created by somebody. Your phone is created by somebody. Where there is a design, there is a designer. From the smallest DNA strand to the vast universe filled with countless galaxies, there is a designer. So we're going to look at some scientific findings that kind of confirm the existence of a creator tonight as we look at scripture and things of that nature. And there's this word called cosmology. Anybody know what cosmology is? What is cosmology? It is the study of stars and universes. It's the study of big things. It's the study of big things. That sort of thing. It's not cosmetology. It's not cosmetology, okay? It's not the study of hair and makeup and how you get purple hair. Yeah, astrology is the study of stars. Cosmology is the study of big things.
Cosmos.
The cosmos, the universe. Before we see how the cosmos points to the existence of God, there is something called a logical syllogism. Okay, y'all say syllogism.
Syllogism.
Syllogism, very good. Okay, number one, men are mortal. Okay, the first thing about logical syllogism with this is men are mortal.
Men are mortal.
Okay, Socrates is a man. This is an example. Men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. Thank you. And yes, he is dead.
And as a result,
You are correct. Okay. So that sounds simple, right? You have a basis of a claim. Okay. And then you make the evidence of it, and you have a result of that. So if all men are mortal, Socrates is man, then he's got to be mortal. The conclusion kind of necessarily follows from the premises. In the same kind of syllogism is used in an argument for the existence of God. This is called the cosmological argument. The cosmological argument. And it goes like this. Whatever begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist. Therefore, the universe has a cause. Simple, right? The universe exists, or excuse me, the universe begins to exist. It has a cause because it begins to exist. So we're going to look at kind of the premise of the argument and see if the conclusion kind of logically follows, okay? Number one, first thing, whatever begins to exist has a cause, right? That's what we said. Whatever begins to exist has a cause. Kind of sounds obvious, right? Things don't just come into existence for no reason, okay? Unless they're cats. Just kidding. But if they do, why don't we observe it happening all the time? You know, why doesn't like a new car magically appear out of nowhere? Why not? Yeah, you gotta be able to build it. It has to be built, right? Why doesn't money appear in my wallet magically? That'd be awesome if it did. And I'm not talking about like the random $20 bill, the random $1 that you find. You know, I'm not talking about any, but like, why doesn't money just appear in my wallet? You know? Well, what about this? That one friend of yours with terrible breath. It wasn't always that way. There was a cause, probably the burrito that they had for lunch, or the fact that they did not brush their teeth. Okay? But anyway, and effects always have causes. An effect always has causes. That's how the universe works. It's how science is possible. How do we know that that there's such a thing as gravity?
We see the evidence of it.
We see the effects.
Why didn't that just float up in the air?
Because
I did not tell it to fall. You guys saw I did not tell it to fall. That's weird. My brain said drop it, and hopefully it won't explode all over Parker. But, sorry, Parker. But, is that not how we know that gravity works? I let it go and I dropped it, right? Yes? Okay. All right. So, cause and effect, okay? That's how the universe works. It's how science is possible. We figure out like, okay, if I let this go, I know it drops because of gravity. Okay? It certainly makes sense to believe that our first premise, whatever begins to exist, has a cause. Well, this kind of makes us look at the second premise. The second premise is that the universe began to exist. The universe has not been here forever. It came into existence at some point in the past. At some time, some point, the universe came into existence. We won't argue how old the universe is. That's not the time for that. We know that the universe is not eternal. There are good reasons to kind of think this is true from science and philosophy. Science. In the early 20th century, science discovered that the universe was expanding. That stars and planets, entire galaxies, they were moving away from each other in every direction as if they came from an explosion. If you had the ability to press rewind, you would witness the entire universe collapsing into itself. You would reach a very first moment in time. Before that, there's literally no space, that there's no space, no time or matter. And we can't even really use the word before since there was no time. So kind of from that moment, if you push play, you would see you would see and witness the entire universe exploding into existence. The second piece of the evidence that the universe began to exist is what's called the second law of thermodynamics, which says that the universe is running out of useful energy. Once it does, the universe will be cold and lifeless. It's kind of known as like the heat death. So think of a car that has gas in the tank, okay? You guys got the car, I don't care what car you have, it could be a truck, has gas in the tank, okay? All right? You turn on the engine, but you just let the car sit in your driveway with the engine running, okay? What's gonna happen to the car? It's gonna run out of gas, right? It's gonna run out of gas. If you just let it go run and run and run and run and run, it is not going to run and run and run forever, right? Same is true in the universe. The universe is running, and there's going to come a point. Of course, we know this from Scripture that there's going to come a point when all of this is going to cease to exist, that it will run out of energy in some way, shape, or form, that it will be over. It'll end. We know that nothing lasts forever, aside from on this side of eternity, nothing lasts forever. If the universe did not have a beginning, think about this too. If the universe did not have a beginning, meaning, it's kind of been here forever, then it would run out of energy. It literally would have run out of energy like forever ago. But the universe, seeing as the universe has usable energy, like a car with gas in the tank, it's got to have a beginning at some point in the past. So we know just from scientific evidence that there was a point where the universe began. What does it say in Genesis 1:1? In the beginning, what? God created the heavens and earth. In the beginning, God created the heavens. By the way, this is not going to be like, if you want to know more about like existence of proof of creation and creating, there's 1,001 things that you can learn. And this is barely going to scratch the surface. So we know that the universe has got to have a beginning at some point. We agree with that? Yes? Okay. Well, let's think about philosophical stuff, okay? There's what's called infinite regress. You ever try to count to infinity? Game of after 10, okay? All right. Why can you not count to infinity? You ever thought about that? Why can you not count to infinity? Because there is no end. There is always one more number. Do what? Yeah. I mean, think about that. There's always going to be one more number. There will always be one more number. Any number you can possibly think of, no matter how big, there will always be at least one more number. That's why it's impossible to count to infinity. Now, the same way you cannot count forward to positive infinity, you cannot count backwards to negative infinity. This is what's called infinite regress. You can keep going backwards forever and ever and never reach a first number, since no such number could exist. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? What does this have to do with anything? Imagine a line of dominoes, okay? Imagine a line of dominoes. I don't care what type of dominoes you want to use, metal, wood, rubber. Do they make rubber dominoes? I don't know. But just imagine you have a line of dominoes. You push the first one over. What's going to happen? Are they all going to fall down at the same time? No. You push the first one, it bumps into the what? The next one, which then knocks down the third, and this continues until you topple the last one, right? Right, that, like, right? That's the sound of dominoes make. Now imagine that you were at the end of an infinitely long line of dominoes. Work backwards. Before you could knock down the last one, you'd have to knock down the one before that. Before you could topple the second to last one, you'd have to knock down the one before that. You keep going back forever and ever and ever, but never reach the line of the first one. Because the line is infinite. And you can't get to the first domino because the line is infinite. Now, think about each domino as a period of time. Say one day, before today, the last domino could arrive. What came before today? What came before today? Yesterday. Very good. Yesterday. Very good. So before today, the last domino could arrive, because this is the last domino, right? Because we haven't been to tomorrow yet. Am I correct? Tomorrow's a day away. But anyway, so we're here. And so yesterday was the one before. And before yesterday could pass, the day before had to appear. And so the same way you can never topple the final domino in an infinitely long line, you can, if there were an infinite number of days behind us, today would never have arrived. Yet, did today arrive? Yes. Yes. Who said no? Somebody said no. Shame on me. But here we are. So there has to have been a very first moment of time, right? The fact that there is today tells us that there is a very first moment of time. Okay. Thus, kind of the problem of infinite regress kind of shows that the universe cannot be past infinite. The universe must have begun to exist at some point. So we have scientific and philosophical evidence to believe that the universe came to existence at some finite point in the past. So this kind of leads us to our conclusion. Therefore, the universe has a cause. Kind of logically flows from the first two things. So let's see what the universe could be like. It must be pretty powerful to bring an entire. Let's look at what the cause of the universe would be like. Think about it. The fact that this universe that's ever expanding, that has a point at some point, seems to point to what? Where there's a design, there is a what? Designer. Okay? So it's gotta, it must be pretty powerful to bring an entire universe into existence. It would have to be pretty smart too. It couldn't be made up of any of the stuff of the universe. So it's gotta be non-physical. Time began at the first moment of creation. So the cause of the universe would be timeless. Something that's outside of time. Also, this cause has got to be personal to choose to bring the universe into existence. There's a definitive reason why the universe was existing, why it was brought to existence. So here's kind of the remarkable conclusion. The cause is extremely powerful, super smart, immaterial, timeless, and personal. Who does that sound like? God. God. Everything that begins to exist needs a cause for its existence, and the best explanation for the beginning of the universe is God. Of course, it doesn't take us all the way to the God of the Bible. There are people that believe in a higher power out there that say, yeah, I think there's a higher power out there. I don't know if it's God, but there's a higher power out there. But it rules out what big thing that says there, what big belief that says there's no God. Atheism. It rules out atheism as a plausible explanation for how the universe began, since atheism has no sufficient cause for the origin of the universe. And it does remarkably match up with Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, who? God created the heavens and the earth. After all, if there's a beginning to the universe, there has to be a beginner. So let's look at this. Let's talk about this thing called fine-tuning an argument. Or the fine-tuning argument, I should say. What happens if I want to cook something like a hamburger? Let's say I want to cook a hamburger, okay? Or breakfast. Eggs. I want to make eggs. So I go to turn the oven on. I turn it up or I turn the stove on. I turn it up all the way. Get it super hot, and I put my eggs on there. What's going to happen to my eggs? You're looking at me crazy. What would happen to my eggs if I cooked them too hot? Huh?
You would burn them.
I would burn them. Okay, they're gross. Okay, eggs are gross. Hamburgers. What would happen if I cooked hamburgers at a super hot heat? What? It would not be perfect, right? It would be burnt. What if I cooked them at too low of a temperature?
It would be gross and mushy.
It would be gross and mushy. Okay. There is wow, and I'm not cooking, I'm not eating any of your hamburgers. But I mean, think about that. In order for me to get the perfect hamburger, okay, or the perfect whatever Hannah loves to eat that's cooked on the stove, I've got to have it at just chicken. Thank you. Chicken. I got to have it at just the right temperature and cook it for just the right time. Not too small of a time, not too long of a time, not too low of a temperature, not too high of a temperature. It's got to be at a perfect amount for it to be able to cook to where it can be, to where it's cooked the right way. What does this have to do with this thing called fine-tuning argument? In the 20th century, there was a group of scientists. They discovered the existence of multiple physical laws that must each be just right for life to exist. Each of these mathematical equations show that in order for the universe to exist, it's got to be just right at this. The Earth, for instance, has got to be at just the right angle. The Earth has just got to do these right, correct things. The atmosphere has got to be just right. the oxygen has got to be just right. Everything as complex as what life is has to be just right. Once again, this is what's called, and if these measurements are off, then the universe couldn't exist, and even so, life couldn't exist. And yet we find that these things are that all of these things ring true, no matter where we look. You look at places where life cannot exist, those mathematical equations don't add up the way they should. We're all familiar with gravity. Like I said, what goes up must go down, right? If the gravitational constant had been a little weaker, stars and planets never would have formed. The entire universe would have collapsed into itself after, the Big Bang, where God spoke and bang, it was. If everything wasn't just right. And the gravitational constant is just one of the constants that must be perfectly aligned to allow life in the universe. But why is it so finely tuned for life? Why? Why is it that things are just perfect for life to happen? Only one reason. Design. If we rule out necessity and chance, then design is the only option left. There's some that try to argue it just kind of happened out of necessity. Still, it begs the question, well, then how did it get into action? Same as by chance. Well, how did it happen this way? With design, it answers the question of how. Because there was a design. God set the natural constants to prevent life in this universe. In other words, the fine-tuning of the universe best points to the existence of a fine-tuner. Now, of course, there's always objections, right? There's always somebody that's going to be like, that's not true, okay? There's what's called the anthropic objection, the anthropic principle. It simply means it relates to human beings. It comes from the Greek word anthropos. And the anthropic principle states that we shouldn't be surprised that we live in a finely tuned universe, since if it weren't fine-tuned, we wouldn't be here to observe it. That's their argument. Doesn't answer the question why the universe is fine-tuned for our existence. Another one is the multiverse theory. Have you ever watched? How many of you have watched or read comic books or watched the Avengers? Okay. Yeah, the Avengers movie kind of, especially Endgame and Infinity War, deal with this idea of a multiple universe threat. Okay, DC Comics is the greatest at talking about a multiverse. Just saying it. Sorry, my nerdy thing came out there. Putting it back in. Okay, well, for instance, another example is Into the Spider-Verse. Has anybody seen Into the Spider-Verse? Multiple different versions of Spider-Man exist in the Spider-Verse. And so there's this idea that this multiverse theory is that the huge number, some would say infinite, of universes kind of makes likelihood of one being finely tuned as expected. Like there's universes that are tuned this way, there's universes tuned that way. We just happen to be living in one where things are just finely tuned perfectly for us. The problem with that is the evidence of a multiverse is lacking. There's a hint of a possibility of a multiverse, but there's no solid scientific evidence for it. Second, remember the premise of a fine-tuner kind of points to the fact that there is a design. So second, and perhaps even more important, the multiverse rules out design. And even if there is a multiverse, it still leaves certain questions unanswered. The biggest one would be, well, where did the multiverse come from? The best explanation for the fine-tuning of the universe for life is that there is a God who designed this universe perfectly with us in mind. Again, the fine-tuning of the universe best points to the existence of a fine-tuning. There's one more thing I want us to look at. That's DNA for evidence of a creator. What's DNA? Can somebody tell me what DNA is? It's what makes us God. It's our genetic code. Each and every one of us, do what, Noah? Deoxyribonucleic acid. Very good. Very good. Science. Hey, good job, Noah. Well done, sir. I'm just saying. Just saying. Y'all need some help with science. Look at the man. He's the man. But that's awesome. And you're right. It is our genetic code. It what makes Hayden Hayden. His genetic code enables him to have his hair flowing like a lion. A mullet-inspired lion, okay? Mullet Nation. I know what you're talking about. I'm there, man. Mullet Nation. But I mean, seriously, it's our genetic code, okay? It's Will's genetic code that enables him to be the meme king, okay? You know what I'm saying? It is the genetic code of us, our DNA. The DNA of a single cell contains enough information to fill 8,000 books. There's always one person that's like, it doesn't do that. You know what I'm saying, right? It makes us unique. It helps us. It makes you you. It gives you the curls in your hair.
You get the kids to tell the teacher, hey, you didn't collect the homework. You would be that kid.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Do you get what I'm saying? No, do you get what I'm saying about? Yeah. We're on the same page, man. I got you. Ignore her. She's me. I'm just kidding. But this is the bottom line, okay? Whenever we see information, and we know how that information arose, we always trace it back to a mind. For example, if you saw Parker loves Kylie, okay, I don't know if you said that yet. Maybe, I'm sorry if that's going to be an awkward conversation afterwards. But anyway, you get what I'm saying? I mean, I didn't say that because she just started hanging. I'm sorry, is this awkward? I mean, I can talk about Hayden. You want me to talk some more about it? But okay, so let's say that was written. You wouldn't think it came from like, let's say it was written in the sand. You wouldn't have thought it came from like the tides, just magically somehow writing words. Okay? The water wouldn't just write words, okay? This is not Moana, okay? So you would know that it was written by a person, and probably Parker in this instance. But you would know it was written by a person. Social media posts, do they just magically appear? No. They're written by somebody. Somebody's got to write them. Even if it's a bot, like there's a bot that can write in Discords about stuff, like a bot that automatically knows when somebody is doing something, and it can automatically post. Still, once again, there is someone behind it, or someone or something behind that. With social media posts, when you take a picture and you post on Instagram, you're the one that made it. When you do that TikTok video with the weird dancing, you're the one that did that, okay?
What was that dance move again?
It's something like this. I don't know what it is, but it's like you repeat the other side, like, look at me, I'm waving, yay! What is it? Savage, love, I don't even know what it's about. So, moving on. I still see people do it. Just saying. I don't know where to go there. But anyway, but it comes from authors. Books. Do books just magically appear? No, they don't. Books are written by authors, right? Books are written by authors. Texts come from texters. Articles come from journalists. Where there is something made, there is someone who made that. So this is the bottom line. Even the staunchest atheist has to admit there's no natural explanation for the order of our genetic code, of our DNA. Yet we know that information comes from a mind. We know that. We know that information, creation comes from someone, comes from a mind, comes from someone who creates. So isn't the existence in a designer a most reasonable explanation for how things came into existence? Doesn't it make the most sense? The fact that we have a genetic code means that somebody wrote that code. The information in our DNA simply points to the existence of an author for life. So what does this mean for us? What does it mean for you? What does it mean for me? What is the point of even talking about this? You know, and a part of it is because, look, you're going to graduate one day from high school, possibly going to college, and you might go to a Christian school, and chances are they're going to hold to God being the creator of the universe. I say chances because that's not always the case. But chances are you're going to go into a world that's going to say to you, I don't believe that God exists. And you have to be able to defend why you believe what you believe. They're just a couple of arguments that we talked about tonight for creator. Science is not against faith. But when properly, it confirms it. Science confirms our faith. This matters for how we view ourselves as part of God's creation. This is what David says about it. When I observe your heavens, it's not necessarily being just like fancy in his words. He's pointing to what he can observe, what he sees and knows and understands. Science. He says, for when I observe your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you set in place, what is a human being that you remember him? A son that you look after him. Given the vastness and complexity of the universe, David is in awe that God even cares about mankind. And yet, he does. David goes on in Psalm 139:14, says this, I will praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Because I have been remarkably and wondrously made. Your works are wondrous, and I know this very well. So what is the big takeaway for us? You are not a grand cosmic accident. You're not some sort of result of blind evolutionary process. God designed the universe with us in mind and created you with great care. Your life has value and purpose. God looks at you above all of his creations and says, you matter more to me than anything. I created you. I gave you life. You have value and purpose. The world we inhabit claims that our value comes from money. It claims it comes from fame or influence and appearance, but God has a different standard. Human value comes from the fact that we were made in the image of a perfectly good and all-knowing creator. If you ever feel worthless, look around you at the mountains, the trees, the stars, and the sky. And remember what King David said. The God who created all of this deeply cares about you. He says, you are not worthless. Father God, thank you for our time here today. Thank you for just allowing us to be there, Lord. Father, I pray that you just continue to speak to us. Continue to show us how much you value us, how much you love us, how much you care about us. Father, we live in a world that tries to deny your existence, and yet the fact that you designed the world shows greatest evidence that you exist. Because we know you exist, we have to listen to your words, trust in your words. The word says, I am fearfully, wonderfully. In those moments when you feel worthless, may you remind us of that. It's in your name I pray. Amen. Thank you so much for joining us on YouTube, whether you're watching now or later. Join us Sunday at 10 a.m. You guys have a great night. Feel free to hang out here as long as you want. The cornholes are in there. You can get them set up and toss them around. But you guys have a great rest of your evening.
Hey, I appreciate it. See, but hey, thanks for talking, man. That was stuff right there, dude.
Chris is whining about his muscles.
Are they hurting them?
Yeah.
Are you drowning?
He did an easy run yesterday
Mhm.
at the compound, and it's all hills out there.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Sometimes like those light runs are not